పైన నేను కరెక్షన్ చేసుకొని ఇచ్చాను కింద.
Sir, please start.
Okay. Good morning, all of you. I welcome you all to the botany second year webinar sessions once again. Earlier, we covered different topics. We covered in the last session regarding the plant growth regulators, which was an important essay question. Today, Mrs. J.S. Seema, PGT Botany from TSMS Ramayanpet, Medak district, is going to deliver a lecture on respiration in plants. We all respire while we are listening to this class. Also, we respire. The moment we stop respire, we are not living. So at present, we are facing a pandemic that is corona. Corona basically affects the respiratory system of the human beings. So respiration is a very important physiological activity of all the living organisms. So I'm not going deeper into the subject. Mrs. Seema will do that part. Now I request Seema madam, who is well versed with the subject, who has delivered so much content on the site for the 10th class and other class students. We wish her services will continue for us also, so that the students of the second year botany will get immense benefit. Now I welcome Srimati Seema madam to give a lecture on the respiration in plants.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
And
madam.
good morning,
Welcome.
everybody. Thank you, sir, for giving me this chance of
You're welcome.
explaining the major topic, that is respiration in plants. Let us start the session. So children, today we are going to deal with respiration, that is botany intermediate second year. So first we are going to deal with the introduction part, and after that, do plants breathe? We will discuss in detail how the plants will breathe. Then what is respiration? How the process of respiration will take place. Then types of respiration. Glycolysis. And students, this glycolysis cycle is one of the major topic in this respiration chapter. After that, fermentation. We'll discuss how glycolysis leads to fermentation. All of us need energy. Yes, children, every day to do the daily activities, we need energy. How is that we are getting the energy? We get energy from the work we do. We get energy from the food we eat. So we eat the food and that food gets converted to energy. So all living organisms need energy to perform their daily life activities. Sir? Hello?
You continue.
Yes, sir. Sir, shall I start again or what? I got little confused. Me phone vachesariki, sir.
Continue, J&D. There was some error.
Okay, sir. So why do we need energy? Children, we need energy to perform our daily life activities. Now, what are the daily life activities? There are the work which we do, like we go to school, we study, we sit in the class, and we attend all the sports classes, everything. Along with that, there are some other biological activities which take place in our body, like the absorption, transport, movement, reproduction, breathing. All these come under life activities. And during performing these activities, we need energy. Children, when you see this image, what is that you can make out? Yes, one side of the image is living organisms and other side is non-living. Now, whatever daily life activities we discussed, like absorption, transport, movement, etc., all these activities are performed by this living organisms. Like the plants absorb the mineral nutrients, the water from the soil, the humans, the animals, these all show growth, development, reproduction. Whereas The non-living things which are present on this side do not perform the life activities. So let us go into the further topic. Now, as I told you all, to get energy, we eat food. So there are various types of foods we eat, like the eggs, the oats, the apples, broccoli, carrots, bananas. We get various types of mineral nutrition. Like the eggs, we get proteins, and bananas, we get magnesium. So each and every food we eat gives some form of mineral nutrition to the body. So now whatever food we eat, we are getting energy. So the process of breathing is very much connected to the release of energy from food. So children, whatever food we are eating is related to the process of breathing, nothing but respiration. So all the energy is obtained by oxidation of macromolecules. So children, what are macromolecules? Nothing but food materials. What are present in food materials? Carbohydrates, proteins, fats are present in macromolecules. So whenever the term macromolecules come, you must understand here that it is food material. Now, let us know what is photosynthesis and respiration. Children, as we have discussed in our earlier classes about the topic photosynthesis, we had detailed discussion on photosynthesis. Let us have a brief view. That is, plants take up carbon dioxide, water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll to synthesize food material and liberate oxygen. It's a general question because we all study about photosynthesis from our 10th class. So what is happening over here? Carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, and chlorophyll, we call it as raw materials during the process of photosynthesis. And what are the products formed during the process of photosynthesis? Yes, oxygen is formed during the process of photosynthesis. Now, respiration. The food material is broken down into simple substances in the presence of oxygen to release energy and carbon dioxide. So children, I hope you understand over here that carbon dioxide is the raw material, whereas in respiration, carbon dioxide is released. So the major difference you can understand, oxygen is liberated in the process of photosynthesis, whereas oxygen is used in the process of respiration. So let us know more in detail the differences between photosynthesis and respiration. Now, photosynthesis occurs in plants and some photosynthetic bacteria. As you all know, children, plants are green in color. Even the photosynthetic bacteria also have chlorophyll. That means the chlorophyll pigment which is present in plants and photosynthetic bacteria help in the process of photosynthesis. Whereas respiration, it occurs in all the living organisms. And the name photosynthesis itself, photo means light. It takes place in the presence of sunlight, whereas respiration, it takes place throughout the day. So irrespective of the presence of light, respiration will occur throughout the day. Now, where is the location? Where does photosynthesis occur? As we have discussed earlier, photosynthesis will occur in the chloroplast and is dependent on light, whereas respiration, aerobic respiration. Children will study about this more in detail when we are discussing types of respiration. So let's now discuss about aerobic. That is, aerobic respiration occurs in cytoplasm and mitochondria and it is independent of light. So when it is photosynthesis, chloroplast and presence of light is important. When you talk about respiration, cytoplasm and mitochondria mainly independent of light. Next, raw materials for photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water. Whereas respiration, the raw materials are carbohydrates. We discussed earlier, macromolecules, food material, nothing but carbohydrates or organic substance and oxygen. Now, in the process, light energy is fixed in the form of chemical energy and it is stored in carbohydrates. What is happening in respiration? In this process, chemical energy stored in the carbohydrates burns to release energy. Over here, the energy is stored in carbohydrates, whereas here in respiration, the carbohydrates are burned to release energy. Now, photosynthesis. Oxygen is liberated in the process and carbon dioxide is utilized. In respiration, it is vice versa. That is, oxygen is utilized and carbon dioxide is released. Now let us compare photosynthesis and respiration. Now, what is the function of photosynthesis? It captures energy, nothing but the solar energy, and stores it in sugars. Whereas in cellular respiration, the energy is released that was stored in the sugars. So whatever energy is stored in the process of photosynthesis, that energy is released during the process of respiration. Now location, we discussed this in the earlier slide also. That is, it requires chloroplast, thylakoid of chloroplast, stroma of chloroplast. We have light reaction, Calvin cycle, which we discussed about these reactions in the topic photosynthesis. So these reactions occur in the chloroplast, that is photosynthesis. When we discuss about respiration, glycolysis occurs in cytoplasm. Krebs cycle and electron transport system occurs in mitochondria. Nothing but the venue or the place where the respiration process will take place is glycolysis in cytoplasm, Krebs cycle and electron transport system in mitochondria. Now, what are the reactants? So, the reactants are water and carbon dioxide for the process of photosynthesis. In cellular respiration, oxygen and glucose are the reactants. What are the products formed? Oxygen and glucose are the products formed in photosynthesis. When it comes to cellular respiration, water and carbon dioxide are the products formed. So when you observe here carefully, children, you can make out one common thing, that is the reactant of photosynthesis is the product of cellular respiration, whereas the product of photosynthesis is the reactant of cellular respiration. Let us go through the equation, that is 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 water molecules in the presence of light and chlorophyll, C6H12O6, nothing but the sugars, and oxygen is released out. In cellular respiration, the products which are formed in photosynthesis become the substrates over here. That is, the sugars, the oxygen will break down to carbon dioxide, water, and energy is released. So till now we were discussing that during the process of respiration, energy is released. So over here, we have a small hint that during the process of respiration, energy is released. We will discuss about this in detail now in the further class. Now the type of cell. Photosynthesis occurs in the plant cells where green color chlorophyll pigment is present, whereas in cellular respiration, it occurs both in plant and animal cells. So do plants breathe? We usually have a doubt. As we are breathing, like the human beings, we have nice nostrils, nasal cavity, we have a well-developed respiratory system. Even in the animals also, well-developed respiratory system is present. Do plants also have such type of respiratory system? See, plants do not have such type of well-developed respiratory system, but respiration process occurs in plants. That means, to the question, do plants breathe? The answer is yes. Plants require oxygen for respiration to occur, and they also give out carbon dioxide, just like we, as we take in oxygen and we release out carbon dioxide, like that only. Plants also take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. And all living organisms breathe. They respire. As you know one point, we inhale oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide. So that process takes place in all the living organisms. Plants, unlike animals, have no specialized organs for gaseous exchange. Why do plants do not have specialized organs? Because in plants, the distance of travel for the gases is less. Whereas in animals and human beings, translocation of gases should take place. That's the reason a well-developed respiratory system, specialized organs are present. Whereas in plants, the gaseous exchange will take from cell to cell through simple process of diffusion. So that is normal transport will take place. And for this gaseous exchange, what are the parts involved in the plant? So inside the plant, we have some specialized structures, that is stomata. Yes, children, we discussed about this stomata in our lower classes. Where are these stomata present? The stomata are present on the upper surface of the leaf. They are also present on the lower surface of the leaf. Where? How is the structure of stomata? So the structure of stomata is nothing but minute pores on the surface. When you go into detailed structure, we find these structures. That is, we have the stomatal pore. On either side, we have bean-shaped guard cells. Surrounding the bean-shaped guard cells, we have the epidermal cells. Now, when you see both the diagrams, the stomatal pore is open here. Over here, the stomatal pore is closed. That means stomata will exhibit the mechanism of opening and closing. Why it must perform opening and closing of? Because entry and exit of gases can be performed. So children, stomata has the capacity of opening and closing. As a result, gaseous exchange is possible. These are lenticels. These are minute pore-like structures. It is the microscopic view when you observe, and these are present on the stem. That is the thick part of the stem. So two parts, that is stomata and lenticels, help in the gaseous exchange in plants. What is respiration? Children, respiration is an oxidation process. So respiration is an oxidation process. What is happening over here? Nothing but complex materials. Nothing, carbohydrates. That means we discussed earlier macromolecules. So macromolecules are nothing but complex materials. Complex materials are nothing but food material. That is the C6H12O6. These complex materials are broken down to simple materials like CO2, that is carbon dioxide, and water. Now, during this process, as the complex materials are broken down to simple materials, some amount of energy is also released. So let us discuss. Catabolic process is nothing but complex materials being broken down to simple materials, that is catabolic process. And during the process, that is catabolic process, some amount of energy is released. So we call it as exergonic process. So children, whenever you come across the word respiration, you have to remember three major words, that is oxidation process, catabolic process, exergonic process. So in simple words, complex materials broken down to simple materials. And during this process, energy is released. So it's an exergonic process. Now, what is respiration? Breaking of the CC bonds of complex compounds. So children, as we told, carbohydrates, nothing but the complex compounds, food materials, all they are made up of CC bonds, nothing but the carbon bonds. For example, glucose. Glucose is a 6-carbon compound. That means the glucose molecule has 6 Cs, 6 carbon compounds. So in between those carbon compounds, energy is present. We break those CC bonds. How? Through the process of oxidation. Where is it occurring? Inside the cell. So during this breakage, what is happening? It leads to the release of energy. So that is nothing but respiration. So once again, breaking of the CC bond of complex compounds through oxidation within the cells. It leads to the release of considerable amount of energy, and it is called as respiration. Now, the compounds that are being oxidized during the process are known as respiratory substrates. Like as we discussed, the food materials, the macromolecules, carbohydrates, those are the respiratory substrates. So children, keep it in mind whenever we are discussing about the topic respiration, complex molecules which are consisting of the carbon bonds are broken down through the process of oxidation in the cell. Some amount of energy is released, considerable amount of energy is released. That is nothing but respiration. And the substance which is getting broken, that is nothing but respiratory substrate. What is respiration? Energy is released in a series of slow stepwise reactions controlled by enzymes. Respiration is not a fast or a very quick process. It is very slow process. It is stepwise, and during the process, enzymes play a major role. They help in speeding up the process. So whenever we are talking about respiration, it is slow process. It takes place in a sequential manner, and it is also controlled by enzymes. Now, light energy trapped as chemical energy in photosynthesis is released in the form of ATP. So we know solar energy, light energy is nothing but solar energy. It is being converted to chemical energy. How is this chemical energy stored? In the form of ATP. The full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. Now during respiration, ATP is broken down. Let us see how is the structure of ATP. So ATP. The significance of ATP here is breakdown of the food material to release energy and trapping of this released energy for synthesis of ATP. It is important to understand that energy released by oxidation in respiration is not used directly but is used to synthesize ATP, which is broken down when there is need, when there is energy need. Now, ATP is called as energy currency. Children, when we have lot of money, do we buy everything at a time? No, we use the money only when we need it. Similarly, the ATP, which consists of energy, is used only when there is need. So whenever there is need of energy in the plant, then only synthesis of ATP will take place. That's why we call it as energy currency. Now, let us see the structure of ATP. ATP has adenine, ribose group and 3 phosphates. Now, adenosine triphosphate, adenosine 1, 2, 3 triphosphates. When you see over here, adenosine triphosphate is being converted to adenosine diphosphate. That means one phosphate is broken from adenosine triphosphate. So children, when you can see over here, we are having low energy bond in this part and high energy bond in this between these two phosphates. So whenever the bond is breaking, the high energy bond is breaking. As a result, the phosphate is removed from ATP and the adenosine triphosphate gets converted to adenosine diphosphate. During this conversion, energy is released. So keep it in mind, ATP gets converted to ADP. That is adenosine triphosphate gets converted to ADP. Sometimes the substrate has more amount of phosphate. So that phosphate is given to ADP. As a result, adenosine diphosphate will become adenosine triphosphate. It's a conversion. You can convert adenosine triphosphate by adding one phosphate group to adenosine triphosphate also. With this image, I hope children, you have got a brief idea how adenine, how the 3 phosphates are present, how ATP can be broken down to ADP and how ADP can become ATP. That is by combining one phosphate group to adenosine diphosphate, ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate can be formed. Now, cellular respiration. Plants use cellular respiration to convert the energy stored in the form of glucose into usable chemical energy. As we discussed earlier, children, that during the process of photosynthesis, energy is stored in glucose. That is in the CC bonds, energy is stored. Now, in the process of respiration, this glucose, that is the CC bonds are broken. When the CC bonds are broken, energy is released and that energy is used by the plants to perform their activities. Respiration. This is the general chemical equation of respiration. As you all know, children, what is C, H and O, but still let us repeat. C is carbon, H is hydrogen, O is oxygen. Now, the substances which are present before the arrow mark are the reactants and the substances after this arrow mark are the products. So what are the reactants involved in the respiration process? Nothing but C6H12O6 plus 6 oxygen. So sugar and oxygen will undergo the process of respiration to release carbon dioxide, water molecules and ATP. And you have to understand one small point over here that C6H12O6 and oxygen are the products which are formed during the process of photosynthesis. So the products of photosynthesis are the reactants in chemical in respiration. Now let us discuss the types of respirations. The types of respirations, 2 types. What are they? Aerobic respiration and what is aerobic respiration? In aerobic respiration, the release of energy from food using oxygen. See children, in the process of respiration, one thing is common, that is release of energy. But if the release of energy takes place in the presence of oxygen, it is aerobic. If the release of oxygen takes place without oxygen, it is anaerobic. So in detail, aerobic respiration, release of energy from food using oxygen. Anaerobic respiration, release of energy from food without using oxygen. Yes. Now let us discuss aerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, three steps are involved. What are they? The first step is glycolysis. The second step is Krebs cycle. And the third step is electron transport system. Now you can see the image. Glycolysis is in this specific box, whereas Krebs cycle is in this box. You should not say box, it is the structure of mitochondria. So that means glycolysis will take place in the cytoplasm of the cell, whereas Krebs cycle and electron transport system will take place in the mitochondria. So children, keep this in mind that in aerobic respiration, two parts, that is cytoplasm and mitochondria, are involved. In cytoplasm, glycolysis will take place, whereas in mitochondria, Krebs cycle and electron transport system will take place. Children, you have to keep this also there. Keep this in mind. Glycolysis is the common pathway both for aerobic respiration as well as anaerobic respiration. That means the product formed in glycolysis, that is the pyruvic acid, will decide whether it is entering into the aerobic respiration or into the anaerobic respiration. I will tell you all this in detail in the coming class now. Next, this is anaerobic respiration. What is happening in anaerobic respiration? The process of glycolysis is taking place. After that, the product formed, that is the pyruvic acid, will enter into fermentation. That is, two types of fermentations are present. Lactic acid fermentation is present and alcoholic fermentation is present. So you must get it out. Now, where is this fermentation process taking place? So children, as we studied in aerobic respiration, that mitochondria is involved. In anaerobic respiration, mitochondria is not involved. So the process of fermentation will complete in cytoplasm. Glycolysis will occur in cytoplasm, and even the fermentation also will occur in cytoplasm only. Now, let us know the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Now, aerobic respiration, we have just given a hint to you all that oxygen, whereas anaerobic, antioxygen. Nothing but in simple words, oxygen, the respiration occurring in the presence of oxygen is aerobic. In the absence of oxygen is anaerobic. Now, oxygen is present, oxygen is absent. Releases more energy because there is oxygen present. So we tell it as more energy is released. When it comes to anaerobic respiration, less amount of energy is released. We will discuss about this 38 molecules of ATP on the 2 molecules of ATP in anaerobic respiration in further classes, as we have to make a balance sheet of these. Now, what is produced in aerobic respiration? Carbon dioxide, water, and energy. When it is anaerobic respiration, it produces lactic acid and energy in the muscle cells, ethanol, carbon dioxide, energy in the yeast cells. Now, glucose completely broken down. Children, keep this point in your mind as it is very important, because glucose is completely broken down in the process of aerobic respiration, whereas glucose is partially broken down or not completely broken down. You can tell it in general term, glucose is partially broken down in anaerobic respiration. So the terms glucose is completely broken down in aerobic respiration. When it comes to anaerobic respiration, glucose is partially broken down. Now, aerobic respiration occurs in mitochondria. That means cytoplasm, glycolysis will take place. After that, the remaining cycle will take place in mitochondria. Whereas in anaerobic respiration, the entire process, that is glycolysis and fermentation, both take place in cytoplasm only. Now, let us discuss the cycle, that is glycolysis. Children, this is one of the important concept in your topic. So what is glycolysis? Glyco means sugar. Lysis means breaking or splitting. So we are breaking the sugar molecule. So the term glycolysis has originated from the Greek words glykos for sugar and lysis for splitting or breaking. Now, this was discovered, or the scheme was given by Gustav Emden, Otto Meyerhof, and J. Paranas. These are the scientists, great scientists who worked to bring out the scheme of glycolysis. You can see the images over here of the scientists, that is Gustav Emden, Jakob Parnas, Otto Meyerhof. And children, in the respect to these three scientists, they have called this glycolysis as EMP pathway. That is Emden, Meyerhof and Parnas pathway. So keep it in mind, EMP pathway or glycolysis is one or the other same. Now, glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell and takes place in all living organisms. So as I told you all children, glycolysis is the common cycle for both aerobic as well as anaerobic respiration, and it takes place in the cytoplasm. Let us study the scheme of glycolysis in detail. Now in this process, oxygen is not involved. So it is independent of oxygen and it is common for both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. And children, in this process of glycolysis, 10 steps of reactions are present, starting with glucose and ending with pyruvic acid. Nothing but during these 10 steps, glucose is converted to pyruvic acid. So in this flowchart of glycolysis, I will make you all understand the carbon compounds and the phosphate groups attached to the carbon compounds along with the enzymes involved. So children, as I told you all in the beginning of the session, that glucose is a 6-carbon compound. How many carbons are present? Yes, 6 carbons are present. So you can count over here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So glucose is a 6-carbon compound. Now when you see over here, glucose undergoes phosphorylation in the presence of the enzyme hexokinase. So children, so glucose phosphorylation process means we are adding a phosphate group in the presence of the enzyme hexokinase. So glucose getting converted to glucose 6-phosphate. Now for this 6-carbon compound, that is glucose, where is the phosphate being attached? To the 6th carbon. So you can see over here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. To this 6th carbon, the phosphate group is attached. So we are calling it as glucose 6-phosphate. Now this glucose 6-phosphate gets isomerized. Nothing but it gets converted into fructose 6-phosphate in presence of the enzyme phosphoglucoisomerase. So what is happening? Nothing but glucose gets converted to fructose, that is isomerization process. Even fructose also has 6-carbon compounds, and 6-phosphate means the phosphate is attached to the 6th carbon, similar to the glucose 6-phosphate. Now fructose 6-phosphate undergoes phosphorylation. Children, this is the second phosphorylation step which you are going through. That is, the first step is also phosphorylation and this third step is also phosphorylation. That means we are adding another phosphate to this fructose 6-phosphate. When you are adding another phosphate to this fructose 6-phosphate, this substance becomes fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. So fructose 1,6-bisphosphate means one carbon is attached to one phosphate is attached to the first carbon, another phosphate is attached to the 6th carbon. So bis means 2. So for this fructose, that is the 6-carbon compound, the phosphate is attached to the first carbon and the 6th carbon. So it is bisphosphate. As you can see over here, one phosphate is attached to the first carbon and another phosphate is attached to the 6th carbon. So fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Okay. Now this fructose 1,6-bisphosphate undergoes cleavage. Cleavage means breaking into 2 different molecules. Now this fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is a 6-carbon compound. By the process of cleavage, in the presence of the enzyme aldolase, it gets converted to dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So children, the major point which you have to understand, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate will undergo cleavage. As a result, the 6-carbon compound will break into 3-carbon compound molecules. So what are those 2? DHAP is dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is, G3P is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Dihydroxyacetone phosphate has 3 carbons, whereas glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate has 3 carbons. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So sequentially, fructose is broken down to 2 substances and each substance is having 3 carbon molecules. Now, the major point which you have to understand is dihydroxyacetone phosphate cannot undergo further glycolysis process. So, is the dihydroxyacetone phosphate left over like that? No. Dihydroxyacetone phosphate will undergo isomerization process. That is, dihydroxyacetone phosphate will get converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So dihydroxyacetone phosphate getting converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is nothing but isomerization process. Now, from one side, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will undergo the further process of glycolysis. Along with this, dihydroxyacetone phosphate getting converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, another process also will take place. That means the products formed will be 2. One product formed by the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate cycle. Another products formed is dihydroxyacetone phosphate getting converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and the cycle continues. That is the reason we write glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will undergo the reactions and form 2 molecules of 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate undergo 2 molecules of 3-phosphoglycerate. Why are we telling 2? Because one molecule is formed because of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Another molecule is formed because of dihydroxyacetone phosphate getting converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So I hope children you understood this point, that is the cleavage part and the isomerization part. Now from here another major steps are going to take place. What is that? Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will undergo oxidation process, and as a result 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is formed. So 1,3, you can see over here, 1 phosphate to the first carbon, third phosphate to the third carbon, other phosphate to the third carbon, and later on this 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate will form 3-phosphoglycerate. That means 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate will undergo substrate level phosphorylation. So this is substrate level phosphorylation 1. We will understand what is substrate level phosphorylation in the next slide. But please keep it in mind, 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate will undergo substrate level phosphorylation and it will release out 1 phosphate. So you can see here 3-phosphoglycerate is formed. That means 1 phosphate is removed. That's why we are telling it as substrate level phosphorylation 1. Where is that phosphorus going? We will discuss in the next part. So 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, 1 phosphate is removed, it's getting converted to 3-phosphoglycerate. Now 3-phosphoglycerate will get converted to 2-phosphoglycerate. Nothing but positional isomerization or intramolecular shift is taking place. When you see over here 1, 2, 3, the phosphate is attached to the third carbon. But when you see here 2-phosphoglycerate, nothing but the phosphate from the third carbon is being shifted to the second carbon. So we are calling it as 2-phosphoglycerate. So nothing but intramolecular shift, or in simple words, positional isomerization. So 3-phosphoglycerate gets converted to 2-phosphoglycerate. Now 2-phosphoglycerate will undergo dehydration, that is removal of water, and as a result phosphoenol pyruvate is formed. Now this phosphoenol pyruvate also undergoes substrate level phosphorylation 2, that is removal of the phosphate group. As a result, the final product pyruvate is formed. So I will explain you all what is substrate level phosphorylation 1, what is substrate level phosphorylation 2 in the coming slide now. So finally pyruvate is formed. Children, keep it in mind that pyruvate is nothing but pyruvic acid only. So glucose gets converted to pyruvate or pyruvic acid. I hope you understood this positions of the phosphates, especially the cleavage, the isomerization, the substrate level phosphorylations. Let us go to the next slide. So over here, you will understand what is the energy lost, what is the energy gained. Now, glucose getting converted to glucose 6-phosphate, as I told you all, phosphorylation. So we are adding 1 glucose. From where is that glucose coming? From where is that phosphate coming? That phosphate is brought from the ATP. So adenosine triphosphate breaks to adenosine diphosphate. As a result, 1 phosphate is added to the glucose. So glucose gets converted to glucose 6-phosphate, that is nothing but phosphorylation. Now glucose 6-phosphate gets converted to fructose 6-phosphate. Here I told you all isomerization, glucose getting simply converted to fructose. Now in this step, it is again the phosphorylation process, that is fructose 6-phosphate gets converted to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Another phosphate is added. So another phosphate from where? Yes, from ATP being broken down to ADP. So that phosphate is added to this fructose 6-phosphate. As a result, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is formed. So during this 2-phosphorylation process, phosphate group is added to the substrates. Now, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate undergoes cleavage. I explained you all just now. That is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Dihydroxyacetone phosphate cannot undergo further glycolysis, so it gets isomerized to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Now, children, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will undergo oxidation process. So glyceraldehyde 3 process, during the process of oxidation, some amount of electrons and protons are released, and those electrons and protons are accepted by NAD plus, and it gets converted to 2NADH. Now this oxidation process leads to 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. And in the earlier slide, I told you all children, substrate level phosphorylation 1. Here you will understand what is happening. Now, because more amount of phosphates are present, it will just give the phosphate group to ADP. So we are calling it as substrate level phosphorylation 1. As a result, 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, one phosphate is given to ADP, ADP gets converted to ATP. As a result, the product formed is 3-phosphoglycerate. Now I told intramolecular shift or the positional isomerization, that is 3-phosphoglycerate gets converted to 2-phosphoglycerate. And this 2-phosphoglycerate undergoes dehydration, that is loss of water molecule, to become phosphoenol pyruvate. Now children, I told you all about substrate level phosphorylation 2 because the phosphate group is free over here. So this phosphate group is given to 2-ADP. So as a result, ATP is formed. Now this becomes pyruvate or pyruvic acid. So children, you have to remember that during the 2-phosphorylation process, adenosine triphosphate is broken down to ADP and the phosphate is given to glucose. So here 2 phosphorylation steps are taking place. Whereas after cleavage, that is after this cleavage, this substrate level phosphorylation 1 and the last step, that is substrate level phosphorylation 2, the phosphates are given back to ADP. As a result, ATP is formed. Now let us see the energetics because of this glycolysis cycle. This is a summary of glycolysis, children. That is, glucose will get converted to 2 molecules of pyruvic acid and 2 molecules of NADH2 are formed and 4 molecules of ATP are formed. Now we will see how the energy is formed. Out of the 4 ATP produced, 2 ATP are used up at first and third step. Let us go to the cycle once again. I will just explain you over here. Here, 2 ATP molecules, that is substrate level phosphorylation 1, 2 ATP molecules, substrate level phosphorylation 2. So 4 ATP molecules are formed. Before the formation of ATPs, that is before the cleavage step, we saw 2 phosphorylation steps. That means 2 ATP, that is 1 ATP is broken down. Here another ATP is broken down. That means 2 ATPs are used up. So the 4 ATPs formed. But as 2 ATPs are used up here, we call it that, we tell that the total result or the total product of ATPs formed will be 2 only. Out of the 4 ATPs, 2 are used up and 2 are present in the cycle. So in the 6th step, there is gain of 2 NADH2 as I told you all, oxidation step. So in oxidation step, 2 NADH2 molecules are formed. So the total gain of energy in glycolysis, if anybody asks you how much of energy is gained in glycolysis, so you have to explain them that 2 ATP molecules and 2 NADH2 molecules. And anybody, children, if they ask you, no, there are 4 ATP molecules, you have to explain them that, yes, the total products of the total ATPs formed are 4, but the 2 ATPs are used up in the first and the third step. So as a result, 2 ATPs are left over. So the total products formed or the total energy gained is 2 ATP and 2 NADH2 only. Now fermentation. Now the product, that is the pyruvate or the pyruvic acid, will decide whether it is entering into anaerobic respiration or aerobic respiration. If the pyruvate is entering into the fermentation process, then we call it as anaerobic respiration. If the pyruvate is entering into the Krebs cycle, then we call it as aerobic respiration. Now the pyruvate is entering into fermentation. That means this is anaerobic respiration. In fermentation, the incomplete oxidation, I told you all earlier, children, partial oxidation of glucose. So in fermentation, partial oxidation of glucose is achieved under anaerobic conditions. How? In this process, pyruvic acid is converted to carbon dioxide and ethanol. And when we take yeast and lactobacillus as examples, it is anaerobic aerobes. So let us discuss how. If the pyruvic acid is entering into yeast, we call it as one type of fermentation. If pyruvic acid is entering into lactobacillus bacteria, we call it as other type of fermentation. What are they? Let us discuss. Now, fermentation occurs in cytosol. Cytosol is nothing but cytoplasm only. So children, keep it in mind. We have discussed glycolysis till now. Glycolysis process occurred in cytoplasm only. Fermentation process is occurring in cytoplasm only. So there is no involvement of mitochondria. So entire anaerobic respiration will take place in cytoplasm only. Fermentation. So as we have discussed, glucose getting converted to 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. We also discussed the net gain, that is 2 ATP molecules have been got. We also discussed that we have 2 molecules of 2 NADH. Okay, so that means these are the energetics. These are important. We will discuss what is happening now. So when glucose getting converted to pyruvic acid by the process of glycolysis, this pyruvic acid, if it undergoes or if it enters the yeast cell, then we call it as alcoholic fermentation. If the pyruvic acid enters into or it is taken up by the lab, that is lactic acid bacteria. So lab is nothing but lactic acid bacteria. So if pyruvic acid is accepted by lactic acid bacteria, then it is called as lactic acid fermentation. So children, keep it in mind, fermentations are 2 types, alcoholic fermentation and lactic acid fermentation. If pyruvic acid is entering the yeast cells, it is alcoholic fermentation. If pyruvic acid is entering the lactic acid bacteria, then it is lactic acid fermentation. Now, let us discuss how these fermentations are taking place. Now, children, when you are observing this image, what is that you can understand? In ethyl alcohol, carbon dioxide is present, whereas in lactic acid, carbon dioxide is not there. Carbon dioxide is absent. So let us know how this carbon dioxide is formed. Let us discuss what's happening over here exactly. So, yes. Now, this is glucose, that is the pyruvate, that is the glycolysis cycle, the 2 ATPs and the NADH. Now, this pyruvate will undergo decarboxylation. So, during the process of decarboxylation, carbon dioxide is released out. So, I hope you understood now. This, that is near this, one second. Yes. So over here, the carbon dioxide formed can be understood in this reaction. That is, during the process of alcoholic fermentation, the pyruvate will undergo decarboxylation. As a result, carbon dioxide is released out in the presence of pyruvate decarboxylase enzyme. So this pyruvate is a 3-carbon compound. So children, when this pyruvate is a 3-carbon compound and when 1 carbon dioxide is released out, that means acetaldehyde will be a 2-carbon compound. Now, this 2-carbon compound requires some energy. What is that energy? It requires some power. What power? It needs some power. So, that power is taken up by the NADH. So, the power which is formed is from the glycolysis process. The NADH which is formed here in the process of glycolysis is utilized during the conversion of acetaldehyde to ethanol. So you can see here, this NADH is getting converted to NAD plus because some energy, some power is utilized to convert acetaldehyde to ethanol. So now when you see over here, what are the products formed, children? Glucose getting converted to pyruvate, pyruvate getting converted to acetaldehyde, acetaldehyde getting converted to ethanol. Ethanol is nothing but ethyl alcohol only. Okay. So during this process, we have to keep one thing in mind. The NADH which was present in this glycolysis is being used up. So the total products you can tell as 2 molecules of ethanol or ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide, that is 2CO2, and ATP, because we did not use ATP in this entire process, but we used NADH. So that is the reason when you see this image, that is this, you can see 2 molecules of ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide is released. Even you can write it as ATP also, but we do not write NADH because this NADH is used up in the process of converting pyruvic acid to ethyl alcohol. Now, in the process of lactic acid, there is no release of carbon dioxide. Directly, pyruvic acid is converted to lactic acid, and the power, that is the NADH, releases some substances and it is used up. So as a result, pyruvic acid directly gets converted to lactic acid without release of any carbon dioxide substance molecules. So now let us go in the further. That is lactic acid formation in muscles. Children, in your school, you have the sports class. In that sports class, you run, you play games, you play all sort of games where you give physical activity. In that process, you feel tired, you get pain in your legs, you get pain in your thighs. Why do you get that pain? Especially when you are running, especially when you're doing rigorous activity, because in your muscles the lactic acid is being formed, lactic acid is being stored, and whenever the lactic acid is stored in your muscles, you get that pain. When you relax, when you sit for some time, you feel better. Why do you feel better? Because the lactic acid which is present in the muscles gets converted or oxidized to carbon dioxide, or it is converted to glucose. As a result, after resting for some time, you do not get any pain. So the lactic acid is not only formed by lactic acid bacteria, but also lactic acid is formed in our body, that is in the form of lactic acid. And when lactic acid is deposited, we get pain. When we relax, the pain is gone because lactic acid is oxidized to carbon dioxide or it is converted to glucose. Now, I will ask a general application question, children. What is the difference between alcoholic fermentation and that is lactic acid fermentation? Where do you find small pores? Where do you find small bubbles? Yes, children, in the bread making. In the bread making, the bread will swell. Why? Because of the minute holes, that is the bubbles. That is the reason the bread is very soft, because of the formation of carbon dioxide. So the holes in the bread are made of the carbon dioxide bubbles. This gives the bread a light texture, nothing but a spongy texture. So in alcoholic fermentation, carbon dioxide is released. That is the reason the bread is very soft. When it is lactic acid fermentation, no carbon dioxide is released. That is why you can see the texture of the curd is nice, smooth. So children, let us discuss what we have learned till now. So we have discussed that food is essential as we get energy from the food we eat. Animals have special structures for respiration, but in plants we have structures like stomata, structures like lenticels for gaseous exchange. And in respiration, we have two types, that is aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Now, glycolysis pathway, we discussed about the energy gain and energy loss. Energy gain is in the two steps, that is substrate level phosphorylation 1, substrate level phosphorylation 2, whereas energy loss is in the first and the third steps, that is phosphorylations. And the scientists who discovered the pathway, Gustav Emden Meyerhof, that is why we are telling it as EMP pathway, Emden-Meyerhof-Parnas pathway. Fermentation process, the bacteria involves like lab and yeast. If the bacteria is if the bacteria is involving into lab, that is lactic acid bacteria, then it is lactic acid fermentation. And if it enters into the yeast, then we call it as alcoholic fermentation. And during the process of glycolysis, we have come across a lot of enzymes. And even in the process of fermentation also, we discussed the names of reactions. We also discussed the scientists who discovered the scheme of glycolysis. Now, children, this is some work which is given to you. So please make a note of these questions, complete the work and show to your concerned botany teachers. So give an account of glycolysis. Where does it occur? What are the end products? Difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. How gaseous exchange occur in plants. As we have discussed, two parts are present. You write the names of those structures. Give a brief introduction to those parts and describe briefly the process of fermentation. We discussed what is fermentation, the types of fermentations, and in the earlier slides, write the complete equation of respiration. So this is what the complete equation as we discussed earlier. Please make a note of all these questions and write the notes, show it to your concerned botany teachers. Thank you, children. We will continue with the next session in our next class. Thank you.
Thank you, Seema madam.
Yes, sir.
Very good
Thank
presentation. You. There is some technical problem with my cam.
Okay, sir.
There was a minor disturbance because of some error from my side only.
Oh, okay, sir.
Okay, we will have the remaining session in the next week.
Yes.
So we thank the additional director, Satyan Reddy Garu, joint director, Sri Rajiv Garu, webinar team members and the host of this program, Srimati K.V. Shailaja, who hosted this program for us. So thank you very much. Dear children, please follow the instructions of the madam. Madam given a wonderful insight into the process of respiration. She has given some assignment for you also. With the help of the concerned subject teachers, please do the assignment and submit to your teachers. This will definitely give us a boost to our future endeavors. Thank you, Seema madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Sir. Okay. Thank you. You can exit.
Yes, sir.